What's going on, guys? This is Bourbon N Ball. We're going to be talking streamers. We're going to be talking lineups. We're going to be talking pitching matchups for this week. Don't go anywhere. Watch the intro. That's right, guys. This is Bourbon N Ball. This is where we talk about stiff competition while sipping some stiff drinks. And I got mine right here for you.
Oh, man. Looks good, Doug.
Oh, good. I'm Doug. I'm coming to you from Foxborough, Mass. I got my lifelong friend over there, Mikey V, coming to you from Clearwater, Florida. And we are going to be bringing some pitching matchups, some hitting matchups, and some really good streamers. So let's just start off right away and jump right into it. And let's start talking pitching matchups, because there are some really interesting, tough matchups I put on here that you wouldn't necessarily think are tough matchups, because some of these guys are 99, 100% owned. So take a look. Here are the must-starts for the week. I have my 5 favorites. All right, Mike, let me run through them. Give me some feedback, all right? So obviously it's not ranked 1 through 5, but it almost is if I look at it from my perspective, okay? Seattle, I do have Logan Gilbert here as a 2-start. I don't know what they're doing with Luis Castillo. He piggybacked. Then he was leading, and Bryce Miller piggybacked. So it went from a 5-man rotation to a 6-man rotation. Anywho, Emerson Hancock is going to be a 2-star pitcher next week, whether you like it or not. And then on the flip side of that, Logan Gilbert might not be. I don't know what they're going to do with Luis Castillo. Personally, I would just drop him if I was the Seattle Mariners and in fantasy. But that's what I would do, even though he's pitching pretty good today, Sunday, which is crazy. So I do have Seattle, Emerson Hancock, pitching Monday against Baltimore, Saturday against the Nationals, tentatively Saturday, could be Sunday. It all depends what they want to do. I think it's an easy matchup for him. Baltimore's struggling. Nationals, I think, we're 3rd place in the NL East. Still, 4-2 on the year, 70 innings pitched, 70 strikeouts, 15 walks, a 2.8 ERA in a points league, 152 points, 12.7 to start, only 82% owned, which is bizarre. This guy should be at least 100, in my opinion. Last start, no decision, 6 innings pitched, 2 earned, no walks, 7 strikeouts against the Mets at home, 12.88 points total. Again, I don't know if he's going to start Saturday or Sunday. I don't think it matters. I would still put him in. He's a must-start for me. Logan Webb, Giants starting pitcher. Monday, Nationals. Sunday, Cubs, a struggling Cubs team that just kind of just went down the toilet pretty quick. Coming back from injury, last start, 7 innings, no earned, got the win, 4 strikeouts, a walk, 22.36 points. That was in Milwaukee against a really good Brewers team. I would, again, start him. Numbers on the year aren't too hot, 9.1 to start, still 90% owned, a 4.2 ERA, 59 innings, 51 strikeouts. You'd love to see the strikeouts go back up, but good start. I think he is starting to kind of turn that ship around. Same thing with Logan Gilbert, right? Again, Tuesday, it's looking like Baltimore, Sunday Nationals. That could flip. He could go Wednesday, Baltimore. Even if he is a 1-start, I'd still put him in. Like, Baltimore's struggling. Logan Gilbert, last start, didn't give you the quality start. 1-0, 5 1/3, 3 earned, 8 strikeouts. Still gave you 17 points versus the Mets. His last 3 starts, 2-0, 3 earned, 20 strikeouts, 5 walks. I mean, he's turned the ship. I think he's turned the ship. And then I got Pirates starting relief pitcher Braxton Ashcroft. He's pitching Friday against Miami. Listen, last start yesterday, gave you -3 points, 0-1, 5 innings pitched, 6 earned, 5 strikeouts. I feel that's more of how good Atlanta is versus how bad he is. That's just my opinion. I mean, you look at his previous 6 starts, 4-0, 42 strikeouts, 9 earned, 5 walks. The Ks are there. Never really walks anybody. That's why I would probably start him against Miami. And then last but not least, here's a little fun one I like. Tampa Bay starting pitcher Drew Rasmussen. Wednesday, he's going against Boston. 5-2 on the year, 66 innings, 64 strikeouts, a 3 ERA. He's giving you 12 points a start, 84% owned. You listen, last start, 1-0, 7 innings, no earned, 9 strikeouts, no walks against Miami. I like the matchup. These are my 5. I kind of mix them up. I do throw a couple 2s in there and a couple 1s. I like them. That's what I got for you, Mike. What do you think?
Man, let's start from the top, right? Emerson Hancock having a fantastic breakout year this year. Seattle just continues to just pump out pitches over in that organization. Love the pick, Doug. I mean, Baltimore and Nationals, kind of subpar teams to this point. That's a must start in my book. And then if you snagged him in free agency or late in drafts, it's a league winner. It could potentially be a league winner. So very, very good start coming up this week with him. Logan Webb, look, last week, like you said, Doug, 7 innings started. Great outing, right? That was the second outing coming off of the IL. So I think he's getting a little bit more comfortable. Obviously off to a slow start in April. He's looking to turn it around this summer. This guy is a buy, in my opinion. This is a guy that you can maybe even buy low at this point. But going into this week, 2-start pitcher, you're going to have to pay a heavier price if you want to get him for this coming week. Logan Gilbert, same exact thing, right? Seattle, really, really good pitching so far this year to this point. Just producing at a very high level. It's just the offense is slumping. Maybe that's why some of the pitching numbers maybe not as high. A couple less wins, right? That means less points. But really the quality is there with Logan Gilbert. If he can start 2 days this coming week, again, must start. Baltimore, Nationals, same thing with Emerson Hancock, all day, every day. Braxton Ashcraft, right? You mentioned him. Obviously had a bad outing his last outing. But you know what, though? Overall, like you said, his numbers are pretty good. He's a strikeout pitcher. Strikeout per inning guy, really low ERA, still sub 1.1 WHIP. So like he's crushing it right now. He's still going to be a stud. I think he's really kind of broken through in Pittsburgh this year. So against Miami, a struggling Miami team at this point, kind of going back to reality, as I like to say sometimes, with some of these dumpster fire teams. But Braxton Ashcraft, definitely a must start in my book as well. And then, like you said, Drew Rasmussen against Boston. We know how Boston's been this year. That's a safe start. Love that start.
Right. And then one quick thing before we move on to some of the tough pitching matchups for the week is Braxton Ashcraft is relief pitcher eligible. So, a lot of times I always say, based off of how your format is, a points format, if you have a really good pitcher in there that can go in, because sometimes relief pitchers, they could get you no saves for a week. They could get you, if you talk about Clay Holmes last year, gave you -10 for a week because he had 2 blown saves in that big loss with the that was 2 years ago with the Yankees, excuse me. So relief pitchers aren't there sometimes they're not just going to give you positive points. Like they'll implode and it's happening. So I think having him in one of those relief spots, if you have 2, you slide him in. We always say that's a cheat code, and it could very well be. It could also not be, and it could blow up in your face, and you get you -3 points. But you could roll the dice, and a relief pitcher could get you the exact same. That Kansas City relief pitcher, he looked horrible a couple weeks ago. St. Louis Cardinals relief pitcher, I forget his name, kind of escapes me. I did own him in our Bourbon N Ball baseball league. He had a couple blown saves a couple weeks ago. So relief pitchers, I think maybe the innings are starting to keep up. Kind of creeping up. It's creeping up to him. That's all.
Yeah, I think there's an uptick in relief starting eligible pitchers now at this point. Like you said, Ashcraft is definitely one. In some leagues, Forrest Griffin's another one who's been pretty good this year to this point. Sometimes that just might be the better option. Like you said, you were talking about O'Brien there earlier. I have him in a league as well. Kind of a headache at points because he does blow saves at this point. So sometimes it's just nice to go with the better matchup, with the pitching matchup. For instance, like today, I got a Griffin Jacks going. Right, and that's against Miami as well. And so far, he's looking really good, 5 innings. But I said, you know what? Instead of putting a reliever out there, I'm going to put the quality starter, when it comes to the matchup, I mean by that. And kind of just take a swing and see where it goes.
Awesome. So on the flip side of that, let's start looking at some tough pitching matchups. And before you start saying, whoa, why are some of these people that are 2-star pitchers on here? Well, let me tell you something. You can put a 2-star pitcher there. The matchups are bad. They can still lose both starts. Let's just break down the facts before we start complaining about it. Of course, you're going to be complaining about the phenom himself, Pittsburgh starting pitcher Paul Skenes. Listen, he's going against the Dodgers on Tuesday, a Miami team on Sunday, which, obviously you want him against Miami, but the Dodgers, that's tough. That's a tough matchup. Listen, on the year, ZRA is still around the 3. He's got 82 strikeouts in 70 innings, giving you 11.7 to start, but his last 4 starts, 0-3, 5 earned versus Philly, 4 earned at Toronto. He had that 1 earned versus the Cubs, which he didn't even get a win. And then he had 3 earned at the Astros. He's not only that, he hasn't pitched more than a 5 1/3 inning in his last 4 starts. He hasn't given you a quality start. That's something else you got to kind of monitor, right? Maybe he's hit a funk. Maybe he's hit a wall. Maybe the innings from last year, something to creep up to him. I don't know what it is, but against the Dodgers, you could say, yeah, he's pitching both starts at home, which is, yeah, it's true. But that Dodgers team is just too good. Flip side of that, you got Yankees starting pitcher Gerrit Cole. Again, I don't know what they're going to do with their rotation. Yankees were rained out. They were postponed. That might push them back to only being a one start next week. Still, that one start would be at Toronto. It would be at Cleveland. But let's just say that they roll out the rotation as is. He would be Monday at Cleveland, Sunday at Toronto. His last start, 0-1. He went 5 1/3, 4 earned, 2 strikeouts, -4 points. That was against the same Guardian team he's going to play Monday or Tuesday. Listen, we said this before. He's missed so much time. There's going to be so much inconsistency coming from someone who just came back from missing that much time, and I think you're going to see it. I don't know what to expect from him. I just tread carefully. If you thought his last start where he, looked amazing, would he have 10 strikeouts? I mean, you would hope that would carry on, but there's a lot of rust. Over a year he's missed. So I just tread carefully. That's all I'm saying, right? Then you got Toronto starting pitcher Kevin Gausman playing against the Yankees on Saturday, right? He's giving you 10.5 a start. His last start, he gave you 1.8 against the Braves, in Atlanta. But it's Gausman. The clunkers are there. He hasn't pitched particularly well throughout his career against the Yankees. So there's some hesitation with me about putting him in the lineup, even a judgeless Yankees lineup, which we'll discuss later on. Okay. Moving on. Mets starting pitcher Nolan McLean. Look, Friday against the Braves. Braves, one of the best scoring offenses. That's going to be the theme here, right? Pretty decent year, not what people expected. 4.2 ERA, 9.4 a start is Last start, no decision. That was against the Padres. 6 innings, 5 strikeouts, and earned 3 walks. Gave you 12.88 points. But prior to that, 7 earned versus the Reds at home, 6 earns at the Nationals. Hasn't pitched over 5 2/3 in his 3 previous starts prior to yesterday's. I do have some hesitation. And then last but not least, you look at this matchup, and on paper, you'd say, wow, this is a no-brainer. I should start Cubs starting pitcher Shota, right? Wednesday in Colorado. Well, listen, last 5 starts, 0-4, 2 earned at the Braves, 8 versus the Brewers, 7 versus the Astros, 5 at the Cardinals in St. Louis, and then 6 at home versus the A's. He was horrible for most of last year. So I'm hoping maybe he hasn't reverted back to his old self. He started out red hot the first month and a half. Like I said, it looks good on paper, but it's Colorado. The ball flies out. He's been giving up a ton of home runs. He's given up 13 home runs in his last 5 starts. Something I would probably put on my bench, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with the Shota intro there. I mean, 13 home runs in 5 games. That is not good. That means runs are coming in. I mean, the Cubs offense alone hasn't been very good. I mean, they're trying to turn it around this past week, but really ultimately this whole year, Cubs have been struggling offensively. And Shota, like you said, he's kind of reverting back to this 2025 form that is a little concerning. We thought he was over that hump earlier on this year, but now we're starting to see a little bit of a mixed bag from Shota. So right now, I'm probably just going to see if I have other options out there to see if I can put someone else in that rotation with a better matchup. Not a great one for Shota. Nolan McLean, man, it's so frustrating with him because you can see the potential with him. He looks so good on the mound, but then he gives up these really, really bad clunkers. I think 3 of the last 4 games, I believe, or 2 of the last 4 games, he gave up 6 earned runs and then 7 earned runs. He bounced back this past week, but again, like you said, a tough matchup against the Braves. The Braves are just red hot. I'm trying not to touch them if I don't have to. If you got other options out there, you can throw someone else out there, but if you have to throw Nolan McLean out there, just do it with caution. Just so you know, Atlanta can hit the ball still. They're still hitting the ball really well. Going back to top, though, with Paul Skenes, it's a very interesting name you put up there just because you think Paul Skenes, hey, must start, right? Every single week, doesn't matter who he's playing. He's the best pitcher in baseball. Well, again, with caution, right? Playing the Dodgers team, the Dodgers are really starting to heat up, in my opinion. I think the Dodgers are going to be exactly where they want to be in a very short amount of time. I think they struggled earlier on this year, but now they're really starting to pick up. The offense has picked up. Paul Skenes, yes, he can compete with the best, but if you're going to expect 7, 8 innings, 10 Ks, 11 Ks, don't expect that. If you get a quality start out of Paul Skenes against the Dodgers and a potential win, that's the best case scenario, obviously. I think that's exactly what you're rooting for there. It's like a 6 innings, 8 Ks, he gets the win. Somehow the Pirates offense is good this year, so they're going to produce 4 Paul Skenes this year, it looks like. So maybe there is some opportunity there. Then, like you said, that second matchup against Miami, great matchup for him. Still probably rolling the dice with Paul Skenes, but again, with that caution, knowing that the Dodgers, they might beat him up a little bit. And then with Gerrit Cole, man, that's a tough one. What are you going to do with Gerrit Cole with the information that you have? You're a Gerrit Cole guy, Doug.
I am. Just to get back to Paul Skenes before I jump, I will say you hope that the competition of playing the Dodgers ramps him up and he can go out and kind of dominate. That might be the wake-up call he needs. But to your credit, to what exactly you said, don't be surprised, man. 5 innings, maybe 3 earned, maybe a little more. I mean, Shota's been hot. We're going to talk about that when we start breaking lineups down later on. But, man, it's a tough matchup. As far as Gerrit Cole's concerned, listen, on paper, again, the Guardians, right? I mean, this should be an easy win for them. If he's only a 1 start against the Guardians, yeah, it looks good. He is in Cleveland, though. And that team, they're a scrappy team. The Guardians are very scrappy, and they've been coming on strong the last 2-3 weeks. Yankees don't have Aaron Judge in that lineup, and we all know what the presence of a superstar out of a lineup can do to it. Can just crush it. And you don't have Stanton in there, even though he wasn't really a big contributor anyways. So now you just got Cody Bellinger, who's really supposed to be that cog in there. He's not a cog. I don't think he ever was, right? I mean, he's more of a really good Robin to a Batman. That's my click, right? So I don't know what to expect. You know, he could get a no decision and give up no runs. He could get a loss and give up 5. I have no idea. You know, that offense is going to be – it's going to have to bail him out. That's the short run. And if it's not there, then he's not going to get the win.
Yeah, and we look at that lineup a lot of strikeouts in that lineup. And you do need that power. You know, Ben Rice has been fantastic for him this year. He's going to have to step up. But like you said, that protection without Judge in there, I don't know how that's going to affect Rice. I don't know how that's going to affect Bellinger. Only time will tell with that. But I can only imagine that it's probably not going to help them.
No. All right, man. So some of the tough matchups. Let's flip the script. Let's talk about lineups. And let me tell you, again, some tough lineups I have in here, you're going to scratch your head. But there is rhyme and reason behind why these are listed here. And I try to give you as much reason. Mike tries to give you the rhyme. I give you the reason. And we come together. We mesh here at Bourbon N Ball. So let me show you some of these must-start lineups. Let me break them down for you. And then, Mikey V, you tell me what you think. Now, I do have, and it's going to look crazy, but, I mean, Seattle, there's only two teams that are playing all week, all 7 games. It's Seattle and it's Baltimore. Well, you know, obviously you want to get those extra at-bats in for your players, but I don't think you want to with some of those Baltimore players because that's a tough match. They have a really tough schedule for this week. So listen, you got Seattle, red hot, won 8 games in a row just until last week, 8-2 in their last 10, first in the West, 2.5 games. I don't think there's ever a hotter team right now than they are. They're playing 4 games at Baltimore, 3 games at the Nationals in Washington. To me, that's a must-start lineup. If you're owning any, I mean, we have some really good sleepers that we're going to tell you, and I don't want to give it away, but one of them might be coming from that Seattle Mariners lineup. Single digits owned in a lot of leagues, and we're going to talk about that later on, right? Next up, Houston. You want to talk about another hot team, right? 4.5 games out of the West, playing above 500 baseball. Jordan's been on fire. He's got over 40 points this week. He hit a grand slam yesterday that kind of just buckled my knees when I saw it because I'm playing against someone who has Jordan Alvarez in their lineup. They got 3 games at Anaheim, 3 games at Kansas City. I think obviously that a lot of those people in that Houston lineup, they're a must start. You know, Diamondbacks, same thing, playing above 500. Marte, Corbin Carroll, starting to heat up. Marte last week hit over 500. You know, they caught all the way back up in the standings. Them and the Padres now fighting for 2nd and 3rd place in the West. They're just a half game out. There was a time when the Padres were almost vying for 1st, and they kind of fell off a cliff. So, listen, they got 3 games at Miami, 3 games at Cincinnati. I think those are pretty easy matchups for that team. Very talented. Again, we can flip the script to go to the Dodgers real quick. This is a no-brainer. I mean, I would say at least 2/3 of the Dodgers lineup is owned in most leagues. You're going to start them. 3 games at Pittsburgh, 3 games against the White Sox. They won 6 games in a row a few weeks back. Talk about Ohtani. He's looked like he's gotten that early slump out of his mind. He's been on fire. Freddie Freeman has been on fire. Who would have thunk? First place in the West by 8 games, 7-3 their last 10. You want to start most of those guys. And then Tampa Bay, right? 3 games home versus Boston, 3 games at Anaheim, scuffling a bit, playing under 500 the last, week or so, but they're first in the East by a game. I mean, man, talk about night and day from earlier in the season to now. You had Yankees in first. You have Baltimore in first. Now, Tampa Bay is just slowly creeping up. And a large part of that is thanks to Yandy Diaz, who's been on fire. Junior Caminero is finally starting to slug the ball after some of those guys had some really tough early of the year slumps, and they're kind of slugging their way out of it. I think it's a great team. I think this is a chance for them to really take advantage of a judge-less Yankees lineup that will probably be struggling. And if they can't do it now, then they might not win the East, but I like them for this upcoming week. That's all I got to say.
I mean, yeah, let's stick with Tampa real quick. I mean, Jonathan Aranda, Chandler Simpson really kicks that lineup off as well. Like, it's a well-rounded lineup. And you mentioned the word scrappy earlier about Cleveland. I think people would identify Tampa as the same thing a little bit, just because the star power, the name power is not there on both hitting and pitching, but they're making it work. Both sides, both hitting and pitching. Pitching's been great for them this year. McClanahan's been actually turning it around lately, pitching really well. Griffin Jax is actually doing pretty decent in his new role. Looks like he's still getting stretched out. He's kind of like in that Clay Holmes territory when he first went with the Mets to get stretched out for the starting role. Very similar style there. So he's going to go through that transition, but great matchups this week for them. Any bats, like we just mentioned there, you start them immediately. Those are great hits right there. I'm not going to spend too much time on the Dodgers. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. If you got Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, wow, what a fantastic turnaround he's had these last few weeks, huh? Really, the power showing up, the average is there. The only thing I would probably steer away from with the Dodgers, though, right now, and you might be a little surprised by this, Doug, Mookie Betts, not very good. He's not been playing really good baseball since he's come back from the IL, from his injury. He plays for a very good baseball team, so he can take a minute to find himself, get back into rhythm when it does count back in September and October. But from a fantasy perspective right now, if you have another option at shortstop, I think I'm going with that other option. I think I looked yesterday, Doug. He was batting 196 going into yesterday. That's not very good. So maybe that's the only person I'd really steer away from that lineup right now at this point. Arizona, like you said, Kento Marte. Marte party's back. It's great to see. Baseball's better when Kento Marte is playing good baseball. The contact is back. The power is back. That's why you drafted him high, 3rd round, 4th round, one of the top second basemen off the board. Great to see him playing back. Corbin Carroll playing some good ball as well, really starting to rack up the points as well. So great matchups this week. Again, we're kind of dumping on Miami a little bit, I feel, this week. But, again, it's just the performance that they've shown us to this point. So, again, great matchup there. Houston, Jordan Alvarez, unbelievable, playing fantastic. They also got John Hader back on the bullpen there as well. So he should be closing out games, which is something that they definitely needed because I feel like any guy that tried to close out games for Houston was just not doing a great job. So great to see him back this week and then really secure that closing role again against a couple teams that are pretty mediocre at this point. And then, like you said, Seattle, a lot to like there. I think J.P. Crawford was hitting well before he's day-to-day at this point. Josh Naylor is starting to hit the ball a little bit better. Maybe not to the same performance that we saw him in previous years that we like to see him at, but he's actually starting to turn a corner a little bit. Randy Rosarina hitting the ball good. J-Rod's doing J-Rod things. It's a great start. Great start for any of those guys.
All right, so let's flip it, and let's talk about some tough matchups here for some of these teams, okay? Again, hear me out. Some rhyme, and there's a reason for this, okay? So I do have Toronto here. Again, it's not ranked from worst to best or whatever. It's just 5 that I think these are tough hitting matchups for me. You got Toronto. They got 3 games versus Philly, 3 games the Yankees. I mean, geez, that's a tough matchup. Started out hot, barely 500, 4th place in the East. Listen, they're going up against Christopher Sanchez, Zach Wheeler, Garrett Cole. Like, those are tough matchups. You're talking about, I mean, when any of those guys are going, they are strikeout machines, hottest pitchers in both leagues. I mean, Christopher Sanchez right now is vying for that NL Cy Young, him and 6 other starters are. So that's tough. You know, you go down there, then you look at the White Sox. They got the Braves, 3 games. And again, they're at home, but still, the Braves, the Dodgers, 3 games each, won 5 in a row, a few games back. Glad to see the White Sox. But, I mean, that winning streak came at the hands of the Tigers and the Twins. These 2 teams are not the Tigers and the Twins, right? They're going up against Chris Sale. They're going up against Yamamoto. I mean, even Emmett Sheehan's pitching very well. He's, you know, both high-scoring offenses. I don't like it. Then you got the Mets. Really, tough to see. I like the Mets. I'm a big Mets guy. You know me, back from the Jose Reyes, David Wright, Carlos Delgado, Johan Santana days. But this is tough to see, and it's not the owner's fault because he's doing everything possible to get this team going. He's spending the money, which you like to see. But, you know, 3 games Cardinals, 3 games against the Braves. Again, they'll be at home. But listen, last place in the East, 15.5 games, 1-7 stretch just a few weeks ago. They're going up against Spencer Strider, Bryce Elder, and a very, again, scrappy Cardinals team. Very underrated. Burleson's good. JJ Weatherhold, he looks great. I mean, even Ivan Herrera, their catcher DH, really good, you know? So, yeah, I would kind of put my foot off the gas on some of those lineups just because of the pitching matchups. Same thing, Nationals. 3 games at San Francisco, 3 games home versus the Mariners, 3rd place in the East, playing 500 ball. They're going up against Emerson Hancock, Logan Webb, Gilbert, Robbie Ray. Like, those are tough pitching matchups for a lineup. So, obviously, you're going to start your studs. You know, Woods is going to be playing. But just take note, the strikeouts might be there for that lineup because those are some really big K guys. And then last but not least, you got the Kansas City Royals. 3 games against the Rangers, 3 games against the Astros. Of course, they'll be at home. They're tied for last place in the Central. They're playing under 500. They're going up against 2 really, really hot teams, both fighting for first place in the West. The Rangers have looked really good. And then we just talked about the Astros earlier. I mean, they're a hot team. So these are the 5 that I would kind of stay away from. Obviously, you start your studs, but I don't think I'd stream anybody outside of that.
No, I mean, everything that I see on this list right here, Doug, I feel like all these teams that they're playing against are very good pitching-heavy teams. You're going to be seeing, like you said, the Chris Sales, the Yamamotos, the Logan Webbs. You know, the Yankees rotation is very good. You might see a Cam Slitzer come in later in the week against Toronto. So you got some really tough matchups if you got some of these hitters on your team. Now, you got some outlining guys. I mean, you're never going to bench Bobby Witt. You're never going to bench probably James Wood at this point. He's been playing really good baseball. And again, I think the biggest concern for me is the Mets this coming week. They can strike out a lot. And they're 2, like you said, the Cardinals are a scrappy team, but I kind of like what they're doing over there, not just from an offensive perspective. You also got Jordan Walker, who's been crushing it there too. But the pitching is as scrappy as the hitting, and it's working. So I think it's a little underrated. Maybe they're just not power horses. They don't strike out a ton of guys, but they get a lot of outs. They're very productive. And then you go into an Atlanta team, and then you're going to play like a Chris Sale, you know, maybe even a Spencer Strider. You know, those aren't easy guys to go up against. So I can see a lot of strikeouts incoming for the New York Mets this coming week. And then the White Sox, great story this year, playing really good ball compared to what they've been in the last few years, right? Murakami, just an absolute stud, obviously on the IL right now, but really been a real uptick in that organization with him in that lineup and really put a big spark, I think, with the rest of those guys too. Miguel Vargas, like, who would have thought? But
the Dodgers knew.
The Dodgers knew. But yeah, I just think it's really tough matchups for all these guys, but I still think you still play your studs. You play the Vlad Guerreros. I think you have to ride out Miguel Vargas. I mean, the guy's got over 200 fantasy points. He's almost a top 10 player. Like, it's really hard to bench a guy like that, you know, when a guy's that hot. So, but yeah, you got to be mindful with these matchups. You absolutely do. And if you got pitchers of these matchups, this is also considering, you know, put them in, right? Bad lineup, strike out a lot. This is a good week for those kind of like mixed matchups. If you don't have like those solid, solidified number 1, number 2 guys, I think there's a lot of good matchups you can play with this.
Perfect. And actually, we're going to start talking about that. But before we do, let's talk about. We're going to move on a little bit. We're going to talk about some people that have been hurt. We're going to talk about some good streamers that can cover those people that have been hurt, and then just give some quick updates. So let me just ride into this real real. It's kind of a short list as far as really highly owned players that got hurt. You know, you got Elly Cruz for the Reds. He went on the 10-day IL. He's got that right hamstring strain. Really good year. Gave you 2.6 a start, 10 stolen bases though, so that's kind of been down. The strikeouts have still been up, 76, 12 home runs, 280. Not too bad, 151 points. So he's still a stud. Nowhere near he was a couple of years ago, but still a top 5 shortstop. Then you got Pirates rookie shortstop Connor Griffin. He hit the 10-day IL. He's got that right that flexor strain in his right elbow. 270, 4 homers, 14 stolen bases, 56 strikeouts, 2.2 a start. Very well, right? And of course, last but not least, you got Yankees outfield DH Aaron Judge. He's out a minimum 4 to 6. They're saying there is really no timetable, so it does sound like it's going to be a lot longer than that, but I don't know. What a man! His last 7 games before getting hurt, 167. It's tough, man. He's really fallen off a cliff since that really hot start, but we all knew this was going to happen. Like Aaron Judge, that's what he does. Hot, cold, and they don't come in like bursts. They're like, when he stays hot, he's hot for a while, and then when he gets cold for a while. So big losses, right? So let's talk about some streamers for some of these. All right. And again, we talked about based off of some of the matchups. Let me run down them. And Mike, I'd love to get your perspective on some of them. So I do have, I had Dominic Canzone on here before yesterday's game. I did this script 2 days before. Very happy. Pretty good game yesterday. Home run. These are my sleepers for the week for hitters. Seattle outfield DH Dominic Canzone. He was 2.9% owned. Now it's up to 3.5. So he's slowly climbing up there. Really good year. He's only giving you 1.8 a start on the year, but in his last 7 games, 22 points, a 529, 2 homers. He's been pretty good. He hits in the middle of that lineup. And again, they're one of the only teams, them in Baltimore, that have 7 games that they're playing. So they're going to be playing all week. Okay. Rockies outfielder, Jake McCarthy, he's 8.6% owned. 283, 4 homers, giving you 2.3 a start. 36 strikeouts, contact guy, 11 stolen bases, kind of checks the boxes for almost every category, right? Last 7 games, 16 points, 260 average, home run, not too bad, but 6 games, 3 Cubs, 3 in Sacramento playing the A's. And then last but not least, I do have another Seattle guy in here just because of the 7 games. Shortstop, second base. He could fill that shortstop position for you if you had one of those 2 guys. And Canzone can fill that outfield for you. He's called Emerson, 15% owned, rookie. Again, bottom of the lineup, 2 a start. He's given you his last 7 games, 12 points, 2 home runs. He's got a 7-game week, pretty good matchups. I'd love to roll one of those guys out. And actually, I did pick up Colt Emerson, so I might be biased on that pick.
Well, I'll tell you what, Colt Emerson called up, about a month ago. Really started to get comfortable in that lineup, and he's playing all over the place. So if you need flexibility in positions, like you said, he plays second, he plays short. I think he's even getting some time at third base at this point right now. So a versatile guy to have in your team. He's only going to get more comfortable. He's probably only going to get better. Really good stats in AAA. Obviously, that's why he's back in the majors. But this is a guy I think he's going to be playing every single day moving forward for this team. And, get him now while you can. This could be a second-half winner for you. Really could. Like we talked about with Mookie Betts, not playing great at this point. This could be a great replacement for like a Mookie Betts that's underperforming at this point. But like you said, going back to like the Aaron Judge, getting injured, a Dominic Canzone this coming week, I think is a great streaming option. Like you said, he's playing 7 games. Yes, he's a platoon player, but with 7 games, he's still going to get his at-bats. He's got pop. We saw it this weekend. I think he's got about almost 10 home runs at this point this year at this point. So he's playing pretty good baseball. I think this is it's not always easy, Doug, when you lose an Aaron Judge. It's not like you could just go on the streets and just replace an Aaron Judge. So you got to have different expectations going out there, trying to see what you can get, maybe work a deal. But it's going to be a week-to-week basis if you don't have a solid substitute. So at least for this week, we can at least suggest Dominic Canzone. Good lineup, good matchups. You got to take a risk sometimes with these guys. 2.9% owned. Use your big brain. Be the guy. Be that 2.9%. And then, like you said, Jake McCarthy, another guy that's a platoon player for the most part, but plays at home twice against a couple tough, rough teams, to say the least, when it comes to their pitching with the A's and the Cubs. So again, if you need that streaming option, if you're trying to find that replacement for an Aaron Judge, maybe these two guys are it. Maybe this is it.
Okay. So I like it. That's not too bad, right? So let's start talking about pitchers real quick. And actually, one of them's pitching today. Another one is somebody you already brought up for a scrappy St. Louis Cardinals team. So here are some streamers for pitching. I got A's starting pitcher Gage Jump. He's only 6.4% owned. He's pitching a shutout today, right now. Looking good. Look at Saturday. He's playing against the Rockies. He'll be at home. Pretty good on the year. He's giving you 10.4 a start. His last start was in Chicago. I think that's more of how bad the Chicago team is than how good he is. But he got the win, 7 innings, 1 earned, 5 strikeouts, and 1 walk. Looks pretty good. Ride the hot hand, I always say, right? Then you were talking about that Cardinals staff. Matthew Liberatore, 7.6% owned. He's playing in Minnesota Friday, giving you 7 a start. It's not like crazy numbers, a 4.4 ERA, 3-3, but the strikeouts, almost a strikeout inning. He's got 66 innings pitched, 61 strikeouts. Last start, he beat the Cubs. Wow, I feel like that's the common theme right now. 1-0, 5 1/3, no earned, 4 strikeouts and a walk. Gave you 16.56 points in standard points leagues. Again, only 7.6% owned, playing against the Twins in Minnesota. And here's a fun one that I really, really like, because I'm a big, like I said, Mets guy. I know we had talked about they have a rough matchup, but playing the Cardinals, ride the hot hand, I just said, right? Mets starting pitcher Christian Scott, he's only 8.8% owned. Thursday, playing St. Louis, he's playing at home. On the year, 2-0, 36 innings pitched, 41 strikeouts, a 2.5 ERA, only 8.5 a start. He's got 6 no decisions in his last 8 starts. He's made 8 starts. He's won 2 of them, and he's got 6 no decisions. His most recent, he went 1-0. He's got the win, 5 2/3, no earned, 3 strikeouts, 1 walk. That was in San Diego, 15.72 points. And then his other win came against Miami. 5 innings, 1 earned, 8 strikeouts, and 2 walks, 19.4%. I think the reason why he's only 8.8% is because quality starts really haven't been there for him. It's really tough for him to see him go that over 6-inning threshold. And then, of course, the Mets offense is really doing him no favors. So, but I do like the matchups. I don't mind if you want to go out and stream them. All of them are all single-digit owned, which is wild. But maybe that'll change. Maybe people will watch this and say, hey, I totally agree. Who knows? If they lose next week, don't blame me.
I just assume everyone just agrees with everything we say anyway. So, yeah. But let's start with Christian Scott. I mean, really, he came up last year. You and I were together, I believe, when he got called up against he was playing against Tampa Bay and actually looked really, really good. And obviously had a season-ending injury last year, coming back this year, starting off a little bit slow, but really starting to put it together. Obviously, 5 innings last against Miami, 5 2/3 against San Diego. So there's a lot to like with the uprising of Christian Scott. Like you said, at 2.5 ERA, I think it's only going to get better. I think he's going to get a little bit more stretched out. I'm not expecting the world from him. I'm not obviously expecting 170 innings out of him this year. But like you said, it's a great streaming option. And then, like you said, it's also dependent on that Mets offense, too. That Mets offense has been a little shaky. So you just got to have to hope that Christian goes that, 5 innings that he's been going, maybe 6 innings, giving up that 1-2 earned runs. And then hopefully Soto comes in with a grand slam or something to get over the top. But it's like you said, if you need options, if you lost a couple pitchers, we always know, Doug, we talk about it every year. Pitchers always go on the IL. That's why you load up on pitching. A lot of times it's precaution. Sometimes they need to get stretched out more, whatever it is. Pitching always goes on the IL more than hitting, so it's always nice to have these options in play. Gage Jump, Doug, was supposed to be the best left-handed pitcher coming into baseball this year. And there's a lot of high expectations, I think, from scouts with Gage coming up this year and seeing if he can perform. Now, like you said, he's throwing a great game today. And he's got a great matchup against the Rockies at home, which I love. But again, it's a mixed bag. You don't know what you're going to get yet. It's only a rookie year. It's only been about 3 or 4 starts for him so far to this point. Hopefully he's getting a little bit more comfortable. But I think there's a very high ceiling with the Gage Jump. If he can put it together early on, this could be a steal of a guy too. 6.4% owned. I think that number is going to be changing in the next few weeks if he can continue to perform. And then, like you said, With the St. Louis pitching, though, you could have put any starting pitching from St. Louis, I feel, on this board, and it could have fit them all. We talked about Leahy from the Cardinals. He was relief eligible. He starts games for them. McCarthy is also there too. Like, they're all very similar type pitchers. They all got about a 3 ERA. They all got about a 1.2, 1.1 WHIP. And then they, like I said, the strikeouts are mediocre, but they play for a good team. I am calling the St. Louis Cardinals a good team moving forward because I think that's what they are. They might be scrappy, but they win baseball games. And I think it's a pretty competitive division, so they're going to know they're going to have to keep up with it. So I think this is another great pick, 7.6% owned, great streaming option.
All right. And right before we end this fun little segment right here, let's give some quick updates and then a bit of farewell for this first ever meet and greet.
Yeah. FSAN debut.
I know. Let me run down this real quick, and then this is just if you hold. Most of these people are stash people that you're holding. I just want to give you an update on them. Okay, I'll run down it real quick. Red Sox starting pitcher Gerrit Crochet. He was shut down after being diagnosed with a low-grade lat strain Tuesday. It was reported that the Red Sox were going to just ease him into the rotation without a rehab start, which is bizarre. But with this injury and this setback, that dream is most likely over, and a July return at best is the best case scenario. Royals starting pitcher Cole Ragans, he was shut down after his last rehab start. He did start playing catch this week, but again, there's no timetable for that return. Tiger starting pitcher Tarik Skubal, he worked 4 innings in the sim game Wednesday through 64 pitches, struck out 6. The Tigers decided he's only going to need 1 rehab start. That's going to put him in the majors June 15th, the week of, which is crazy. Astros starting pitcher Hunter Brown threw 57 pitches in his 3rd rehab start. 4 1/3, 4 strikeouts, 1 hit, 1 earned, touched as high as 98.9, looked great. The goal is to get him around 75 pitches in his next start, and then they're going to call him up again, pretty similar to Tarik Skubal, June 15th. Actually, they're going to have him start right now. It's penciled in, barring any setback, June 15th game at home versus the Tigers. A's shortstop Jacob Wilson, he began a rehab assignment Saturday after ramping up baseball activities. Mid-June return for him as well. Mariners catcher Cal Riley, he began a rehab assignment today, scheduled to rejoin the club on their June 16th homestand. Braves catcher DH Drake Baldwin, he has yet to resume swinging a bat. However, he was put on the IL with an oblique injury. The club still insists he's going to return for the June 16th homestand, but if he's not swinging a bat, it's kind of tough to see that. And then last but not least, this one really hurts my heart. Diamondbacks starting pitcher Corbin Burns, he's been shut down after suffering an upper arm strain, which will push him and his return back to September, which in terms of fantasy means if you're holding him thinking he could boost your rotation after the All-Star break, they're shattered. He's droppable. Get rid of him. And those are my updates.
Yep, already dropped him in a couple leagues, unfortunately. Had him stashed, ready, had him go. Sucks. It is what it is. Gerrit Crochet, again, another thing that just sucks, just having that setback. And obviously the year the Red Sox are having, so just another, Debbie Downer year it looks like for them so far to this point. But, great updates. Hopefully some of these guys are back in the rotation soon, like a Hunter Brown. Man, looks like he looks great again, 98 miles an hour, just pumping it in there. If he can get that pitch count up, that Houston team could be dangerous in that second half. I think that AL West is wide open still, and he's going to be a big part of that. If they even make a move for someone else, too, to boost that rotation as well, you can't rely on Spencer Arrighetti to be Spencer Arrighetti like he's been this whole year so far to this point. So I think they're going to need a little bit of support, but Hunter Brown's going to be a huge piece in that, I believe.
Right. All right, man. So that's it. That's it, man. We gave you some pretty good streamers for hitters and pitchers. We talked some good matchups for hitters and pitchers. Whatever you do, I hope you make the right decision that's best for your team, and you can go out there and win for this week. Hopefully we provided you with some good information to do that. Again, I'm Doug. That's Mikey V. We're coming to you, Fantasy Baseball Advice Network. Catch us. We're coming live Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Join us. Ask some questions. We're going to be talking who's hot, who's not, and some really good sell high, buy low type candidates. So hopefully we'll see you there. Thank you very much.